Hi everybody, Charles here. Welcome to Backroads Living. In today's video, we're going to be discussing some of the rules for the lockdowns over in Wales. That, along with some more comments that our followers and subscribers have left on our YouTube page. So hang in there and we'll be right back. Welcome back. Today, as I was reading through the news that I get online, I ran across an article that spoke about the Welsh lockdown. It said Welsh lockdown rules, what you can and can't do now. So I thought we'd go over that because I wonder sometimes who's going to be next when I see this stuff. Because this CV-19 stuff, it has it's just kind of like bounced around from place to place to place to place and back and forth. And you know, a country will be under lockdown, or a specific area in the country, and then they'll get out from under it, and then they'll be back under lockdown again. And you never know from day to day, because when they ramp up testing, of course, the more tests you do, the more positives you're going to have. So who's going to be next? We don't know. But these could be our rules maybe a month from now. Who knows? But let's go over them. It says right here, it gives all the numbers of the names of the places that are actually under lockdown in this area. But it also said here that there are just under 2 million people are in local lockdowns in Wales, just in Wales alone. So that's a lot of people. What are the new rules and restrictions? Friends and family. So they've got rules. Now they've got rules for everything. Everything. Friends and family. Generally speaking, people in the Welsh lockdowns can't visit friends or family. Separate households are not allowed to mix indoors. Up to a maximum of 30 people can meet outdoors, but you should continue to be socially distant from people not from your household. However, if you need to, you're allowed to leave your area to provide care or to help someone who needs it, such as an older person, a child, or a vulnerable adult. That's for the family and friends. Transportation. If you need to use public transportation within your area, you can do so, but you must wear face coverings. That's in transportation. However, you're not allowed to leave your area with a reasonable excuse. It says you're not allowed to leave your area with a reasonable excuse. So you're pretty much restricted to the area you live in. This includes work. If people are unable to work from home, as well as making a compassionate visit to a loved one or to provide care. So then shops and entertainment. All shops can be open within the local lockdown areas. However, you should stay within your home area when you go to the shops, and you will need to wear a face covering. So don't go outside your home area when you go to the shops. Restaurants and cafes are open, but you can only eat and drink with people from your household. So you can't go into a restaurant and sit down at a table if it's not someone from your immediate household. It's a criminal offense to deliberately meet someone from outside your household indoors. A criminal offense if you meet someone indoors outside of your household. Who's going to be next? Places of worship. You can still attend places of worship within your area so long as you go with people within your household. No specific rules are in place about religious services in specific areas. So I guess this means that you can meet indoors with other people that are not in your household at a religious service, but you cannot meet with people who are not in your household in a pub or in a restaurant. Makes sense. People will be expected to observe physical distancing and good hand and respiratory hygiene. And in addition, you will need to wear a face covering. That's in a place of worship. Now the dentist. Dentists are still open and you can visit them, but you need to take precautions. I've often wondered about that. When you go to the dentist, they say you're required to wear a face mask. Well, dentists wear a face mask when they're working on your mouth, but I don't think they make a face mask for a dentist's visit. If they do, you'll have to inform me of that. Schools. Schools and colleges are still open despite the local lockdowns. So you can't meet someone outside your household at a restaurant and socialize with them because it's a criminal offense, but you can go to school with them. Still makes sense. Work. In the areas under lockdown, you may go to work if you can't work from home. But working from home where possible is a recommended guidance. Outside exercise. Outdoor sports classes can continue, but social distancing should be maintained at all times and the classes must be limited to no more than 30 people. Cycling is allowed, but you must cycle within the boundary of the local authority. Can't go outside the local authority if you're going to go bicycling. Hairdressers and barbers are open, although you should only attend these within the area. You will need to wear a face covering. Well, there went my beard getting trimmed. Gyms. Gyms are open and have to maintain all the safety requirements to protect people from the risk of contacting coronavirus. As gyms and leisure centers are indoor public places, you will need to wear a face covering when you go there, and you will need to keep it on depending on what you're doing. If you're preparing to exercise, changing, or undertaking an activity that isn't strenuous, especially when in close contact with other people, you will need to wear a face covering. Pubs. From Thursday, September 24th, hospitality businesses in Wales, such as pubs, cafes, and restaurants, sports clubs, and casinos, stop selling alcohol at 10 p.m. However, pubs are still open within the local lockdown areas. Weddings. Marriages and civil partnership ceremonies and small receptions can take place in lockdown areas, but guests from outside the area are not permitted to attend the reception. I get that. Okay, so there's rules for everything. Wales is under what they call a lockdown. There's millions of people under a lockdown over there in England right now. It will create some hardship for them, but it doesn't sound like it's going to be impossible for them. And that's the good thing. It's not near as bad as what people think when you hear lockdown in Wales. Okay, so they do still have some freedom. And that's a good thing. I'm for that. People need to have freedoms, and I'm all for that. So that being said, let's get into our comments also today. Now these comments are from our YouTube subscribers, from you, those of you who watch this channel, and we so appreciate you. And if you enjoy our channel, we'd appreciate it if you would subscribe, like the video, share it with your friends, and when you subscribe to the channel, there'll be a bell icon appear. When that bell icon appears, click that, and you'll be notified of when we upload new videos on YouTube. And we really appreciate that, because when you interact with our channel like that, YouTube gives broader audience to our channel. They put it out in wider view for people. More people can see it. And that helps us, and we appreciate that. So the first person I want to address today, I'm going to go ahead and get my notes, is Virginia. She said, now, and this is something that if you're new at prepping, listen real close to what this woman has to say. I couldn't say it any better. That's why I'm just going to go ahead and read her statement right here. She said, if you're worried about getting as much in store as time permits, make strategic choices. And it is. Right now's the time to make choices because we've got an election coming up in less than 2 weeks. And I'm going to say this again. I've been saying this a lot, but I think we'll see civil unrest immediately after this election, if not during that day, regardless of who wins. And especially if Donald Trump wins, I think we'll see a great deal of civil unrest. And it's time to make strategic choices. She said 20-pound sacks of rice in Florida have been holding steady for about $10-ish for 20 pound. You'll get about 94 half-cup servings out of one bag. That will give a cup of cooked rice per person. It may start to climb very soon, but right now it's about there in many places. So where she's seeing and what she's seeing around the area, it's staying about $10 for 20 pound. That's a lot of meals. Like she said, you get a cup of cooked rice per every half cup of rice, and you'll get 94 half cups. So that's 94 servings. Beans are very affordable, and if you dislike them, you should buy as many pounds as you can afford quickly just to have them on hand, whether you like them or not. Because if a person were to go into a lockdown, or there was a actual food shortage to where you couldn't buy food from the groceries, you could learn to like beans. If a person gets hungry enough, they'll learn to like about anything. If you get hungry, you'll eat what you've got handy. So buy beans because they've got a long shelf life and they'll go a long way and they'll fill you up. And that's what she said. They're a long time on the shelf if properly stored. That means put in a dark place, free of pests. Okay, pastas are very affordable and widely available, and so are tomato products at the moment in Florida where Virginia lives. So these two will keep a long time safely. Flour is extremely useful in a cook's kitchen. She said, but it must be kept in a fridge or freezer to keep a year or better. In a cupboard, you'll get 6 months before it turns rancid. But you can also store flour in Mylar bags, or you can vacuum seal flour and make it last quite a bit longer. So flour is a good thing to have on hand, and if you have a way of vacuum sealing it, you need to do that. And always freeze your flour before you vacuum seal it or put it in Mylar bags or anything like that. Or if you're going to store it in a quart jar or whatever, always freeze your flour because it's got those little larvae and stuff in them. Set it out after about 4 days, let it come back down to room temperature. Give it a couple of days to do that. I always lay mine on a towel and I rotate it because you get condensation on the outside of the bag. I rotate it on those towels and I allow it to dry for 2 days. And that gives the flour a chance to dry through and through. You don't want to vacuum seal or seal any kind of flours or meals with dampness in them. They'll go rancid really quick, okay? You'll lose your stuff if you don't. So, flour's cheap, and you can provide you with fresh breads, cakes, and all kinds of goodies. And that's true. We get our flour 5 pounds for $2 or something. If you have an Aldi's near enough to get to, their prices are staying low, particularly the canned foods. Plus, they have a very wide selection of product. Your dollar will go farther there, I believe. Go for canned meats, chicken, ham, and beef, canned fish, canned meals like mac and beef, Kraft mac and cheese, that kind of stuff. If you have Dollar Trees around, you will be able to buy an amazing amount of useful food items from them for a light budget. Check them out. And buddy, listen, I couldn't agree more. Get meats. Get your protein put back. I hear all these foods, it may not be the name brand, but let me tell you something. Right now, name brand doesn't matter. We buy a lot of foods that's not name brand that we eat. That's really good foods. So keep that in mind. Check out your Aldi's if you have one close by. Put back the things that are shelf stable. Look at the dates on it before you purchase it. A lot of this stuff will date out a year, some of it even 2 years. And here's one of the things about the meats too. Let me throw this in real quick. She was talking about buying meats here, like chicken, ham, and beef, canned fish, and that kind of stuff. Now, just because there's a best buy date on it, and it's a month past the best buy date or the best used by date, don't throw that out. We're eating peanut butter right now that's almost 2 years old. Opened it, and it was just like fresh peanut butter. It's been kept in our pantry, and there's nothing wrong with it. I've heard of people opening tuna and cans of fish that were 8-year-old, and it's still good. So don't throw that stuff out. If you get it and it's several months or a year past the best by date, open it, smell of it, taste it, and see if it still smells good and tastes good. If it does, it's still good. These canned meats will last a long, long time past their best by dates. Buy things like raisins, peanuts, coconut oil, which will keep for years on a shelf and is delicious and healthy. Nuts are expensive but very rich in nutrition. If I were you, I would buy 2 or 3 bags of chia seeds, a couple of bottles of multivitamins, and stock up on vitamin C. That's an excellent point right here. If you can't get enough food, you will at least keep your nutritional needs met and avoid deficiencies. If you've got vitamin C and multivitamins, that will help you. And those are cheap enough. Vitamin C, you can get it in a lozenges form at Dollar Tree for $1 a bag. We've got them here. We use them somewhere. I've got a bag of them there somewhere. But you can buy bags of vitamin C at Dollar Tree. So, don't think that it's too late to get started. You can still get started and you can still stock up. There's time to do this. You just need to, put your best foot forward and get started doing it. And then we're going to go in now. These are some reasons why you need to go ahead and get started and don't wait. Melody said, I'm in Michigan. The food is cheap here, but there's lots of shortages. Shelves are bare. So I don't know what part of Michigan she's in, but the shelves in the stores in Michigan where she lives, she said the food is bare. And then we've got a lady named Yorkshire said here in Alberta, Canada, shelves are at 3/4 capacity, but you're limited in how many of each items you can buy. Our Costco's only about half capacity, and in some items you can't get it all, and when you do see them, they sell out really fast. I've been prepping since March, and every time I can go out, I buy something extra. And that's good advice for everybody, whether you're a new prepper or not. When you go out, buy something extra. If you have some money to buy it with, please do. And then Jenny says, we will do all we can. Usually we only grow a few winter vegetables, but this year our garden has been fully planted and we bought in more laying hens, and they produce less eggs in the winter. They brought in more laying hens. We sell for 8 months a year and use them all in winter. This year we'll give away our new surplus to friends and neighbors in need. My husband is 79. My mother is 98. This was so funny. They spent this morning talking about how to help out the old folks if things get worse. 79 and 98 talking about how to help the old folks if things get worse. But I want to commend Jenny that she's willing to help her friends and neighbors with her excess. That's very kind of you. It's a generous heart. And Charlotte says, I live in Virginia and shop at Food Line. No Del Monte canned vegetables, no rice, very little canned soups or dry pasta, very little canned chicken or tuna. Meat is expensive, and so is fresh seafood. Land O'Lakes real butter is $6 a pound. Oranges and grapefruits look battered and old. This is not just at Food Line, but also Kroger as well. My advice is this: when you see it, buy it. That's what I've been saying the whole time. If it's on the shelf, buy it. When it's gone, it's gone. It may not be available again for a long time. You cannot eat money, gold or silver. So, you can't eat that kind of stuff. You got to put it back. And here again, I'll mention this. People who are saying, oh, you're just fear-mongering, you're just scaring people, this is not going to happen, there's no going to be no food shortages, none of this stuff's going to happen. If you can't get out to the grocery in your hometown, there's a food shortage in your house if you don't have your pantry stocked. You have a personal food shortage. It may not be a national food shortage, but it's a personal food shortage. And if you have civil unrest in your town, there's a good chance you may not be able to get out and go to the grocery. Put back food. Bonnie, It says the prices are crazy here in South Jersey, Delaware area. We haven't had to buy much because we have a small farm, and we planted an additional acre, and we've canned a year's worth of fruits and vegetables already. We had a steer and 2 hogs slaughtered, and we culled all the hens that are no longer producing eggs and 4 turkeys. But our work boots were worn out, and the cheapest pair we could find were $110 at Dick's. $40 more than the last time, and the selection was very limited. And the price of undergarments and socks are high at Walmart. Those prices have went up. It was $70 more to slaughter the steer this time, and $30 more for them sealing the meat. So that was an extra $100 they had to pay for their steer to be slaughtered and the meat sealed. But I'm not complaining because we're blessed. So, prices are going up. Some stores are seeing difficult to keep food on the shelves. And then the last one is Mrs. P. Kitty. I'm in Northwest Florida. My local Walmart is stocked, but it's slim pickings. And I've been noticing this in our local Walmarts. Canned vegetables and meats go like hotcakes. When we go to our local Walmart, the roast beef, the canned roast beef, buddy, it don't last no time. If it's on the shelf, you better buy it, because when you go back the next day, if you're going to wait a day or two to get it, it'll be gone. It just disappears. And there's other meats in there that do that too. If you see it, you better get it. And they've shortened the length of space items like sugar take up, so it looks full, but the amount of product is less. And I've noticed that. They've condensed the areas. They've made the areas smaller where they're putting this stuff. Although it's full, and it looks full, it used to be that wide and full. Now it's this wide and full. So even though it's full, there's less of it. It has an appearance of still being the same amount, but it's not. Spices are also slim pickings. I've been trying to buy the bigger bulk containers of spices and vacuum seal in small amounts to refill my spice jar. I went looking for onion powder yesterday, and they're completely out of onion powder. I'm going again tomorrow to see what spices got restocked over the weekend. They're just being restocked with meats. Up until a few weeks ago, the beef section was almost empty and went as fast as they put it on the shelf. That's the way it is at our local Walmart. It's staying full for now. I agree that 2021 will be worse. I don't think people realize we're buying last year's crops. And this is something to think about. This is real important to think about. We're buying last year's crops, culled herds, and simply had to destroy or donate what they, let's see, let me back up just a second. Buying last year's crops and cattle, chickens, etc. And so many farmers this year have lost crops, culled herds, and simply had to destroy or donate what they had left. And with farmers losing money from this C-19 situation, next year's going to be hard. If we're buying last year's crops and this year's crops are being tilled under and left to rot on the vine because there's a shortage of work hands, then next year's going to be much worse than it is this year to get the produce in and to buy it, because it's not going to be there. So I agree with the person who said, if I'm wrong, I can eat my error, and I do too. Miss Kitty, I agree with them wholeheartedly. And you know what? I'm with you. I'm okay with being wrong. I'd rather be wrong and have my belly full than be right and be hungry. So folks, thank you for stopping by again today. We appreciate you so much. And don't forget to check back with us real often. We're going to try to put videos up as often as we can and stay on top of the news as much as we can. And if you have comments or questions or anything like that, please be sure to put them in the comments below. We love getting your comments and reading your comments and reading your thoughts, sharing ideas with one another. We want to learn. There's a lot we don't know. And I've already learned a lot from several of you folks out there, and we appreciate you. And pray for those folks in our foreign lands from where we're at. You know, we've got people in Australia and other countries too that's went through some really hard times. So pray for those folks, and keep in mind that if you know the Lord Jesus Christ, you don't have to fear. You don't have to be in worry, because if you do your part, God's grace is more than sufficient to take care of you. So that being said, we'll see you in the next video.